Jurgen Klopp has just said something incredible about a current Celtic star. Ali McCoist has gone on a bizarre rant about the split fixtures, and Chris Sutton has fired straight back at him. Plus, a journalist has dropped a damning verdict on the situation behind the scenes at Celtic Park. A huge day of news, let's get straight into it. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Journalist Keith Jackson has written a scathing assessment of the situation at Celtic, and the word he uses to describe what is happening behind the scenes is damning. He calls it shambolic, and when you read his reasoning, it is very hard to disagree. Martin O'Neill has been doing a solid job on the pitch since coming in. Celtic have stayed in the title race, they are picking up results, and the team looks more settled. O'Neill has been a calming and experienced presence at a moment when the club badly needed one, but Jackson's piece lifts the curtain on what is actually happening away from the pitch. He points to O'Neill being spotted at Preston North End on Easter Monday, scouting potential new recruits. That sounds perfectly normal until you realise the context. Celtic are heading into a crucial run-in, and the man supposedly managing the team for the final weeks of the season is having to do his own recruitment work. There is no functioning recruitment department. The club has an interim manager and an interim chairman. The infrastructure that should be supporting a football club of this size simply does not exist right now. Jackson wrote in the Daily Record, "The sight of O'Neill scouting for potential new recruits at Preston North End on Easter Monday was in itself a damning indictment of the current, wholly shambolic situation behind the scenes. This is a club which is limping on towards the summer with an interim manager and chairman, and without any kind of functioning recruitment department." He also acknowledged that if O'Neill manages to win the title from this position, it would be one of the great stories in Scottish football history. That is true. But the bigger question is why a club of Celtic's stature is even in this position. That answer leads you straight back to the board, and it is a conversation that will not go away when the summer arrives. Now for the main story, as Ali McCoist has gone on a wild rant about the post-split fixtures, suggesting that Celtic have somehow been given a favourable run-in with their home games, and Chris Sutton has immediately fired back to shut the whole argument down. McCoist made the comments on TalkSport, pointing to the fact that Celtic have 4 of their last 6 games at home, while Rangers have 4 away. He was doing it with a wink and some humour, but the implication was clear. He said, "First of all, a very good morning to you boys. Gabby, you couldn't get a bet on them having a home game on the last game of the season, man. Well, they're running the thing up here, aren't they? They're absolutely running it, mate. They've got 4 of their last 6 at home again. We've got 4 of 6 away. You couldn't make it up, pal. They're playing Hearts' final game of the season, right? Imagine one of them needs to win to stop us winning the league. Do you think that will happen? You'd better believe it will happen." He pulled it back at the end, admitting the race is too close to call, but the damage was done. The suggestion that Celtic have been handed something is completely absurd. Sutton's response on social media was immediate and perfectly to the point. He simply noted that Celtic have played 19 home games and 19 away this season, the same as every other club. There is no favouritism, there is no conspiracy. Every side ends up with the same split of home and away fixtures across a full season. McCoist knows that. It was theatre, pure and simple, but theatre that deserved to be called out, and Sutton did it with one line. In other news, Hearts manager Derek McInnes has reacted to the news that his side will travel to Celtic Park for the final game of the season with only around 600 away supporters. That low allocation comes from a reciprocal arrangement based on the away end capacity at Tynecastle. Hearts introduced that approach with their own away end, and Celtic have applied the same logic in return. It means that if the title is still alive on the final day, which is very much a possibility right now, Hearts will be at Celtic Park with barely any away support inside the ground. It is an unusual scenario and one that throws up some interesting questions about atmosphere and pressure. A full Celtic Park roaring behind the home side with just a handful of Hearts fans in the away end is a very different backdrop to a more evenly split crowd. McInnes acknowledged the frustration for the fans, but made it clear his focus is firmly on the football. He said to Hearts official channels, "First of all, the thought for the fans, because obviously there's an effect on them getting 600 tickets or something, which is the way. but I also thought that the league's going to try and get a fixture at the death. That would be pretty key. Hopefully, as I say, we're still in with a chance of winning the title going into our last game. If both teams are still in the mix for winning a league, it's the most dramatic fixture you can have. Not everybody's going to be happy. We're just obviously excited by the games that's coming up. I don't want to get too caught up in it that we're unhappy about things. We're excited to be in amongst it. That is the right attitude. Whether the atmosphere will affect anything when the moment comes is a different question entirely. Celtic at home, needing a result, with a packed Celtic Park behind them. It does not get much bigger than that. In other news, Jurgen Klopp has been speaking about Celtic midfielder Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and what he said is a reminder of just how high the ceiling was for the former England international before injuries took such a brutal toll. Klopp and Oxlade-Chamberlain worked together at Liverpool, and the German manager clearly rates him enormously. Appearing on the That Peter Crouch podcast, Klopp was asked about the players who gave Liverpool something extra during their great years, and he brought up Oxlade-Chamberlain specifically. He said, Ox, with his dynamism, with his speed, without the injuries, Ox would have gone through the roof 100%. Through the roof. That is Jurgen Klopp, one of the most successful managers in world football, talking about the player who is now at Celtic on a short-term deal trying to rebuild his career. It puts into context exactly what Celtic have on their hands. Not a finished article, not someone past it, but a player who had genuine elite-level ability and who was simply robbed of his best years by injury. At Celtic, so far, his minutes have been limited, but there have been flashes. The debut goal against Livingston, those driving runs through midfield, the willingness to take the ball under pressure, all of that is still there. The question is whether he can produce it consistently over the run-in when the games really matter. Lastly, while all the noise around the split fixtures has been building, it is worth stepping back and looking at the bigger picture of what is actually at stake as the title race heads into its final straight. Hearts are top of the league and 3 points clear of Celtic, who are third, with Rangers sitting 2 points ahead of the Hoops. Celtic have 6 games left. They are not in control of their own destiny, but they are still alive, and this weekend's home game against St Mirren is a must-win. What makes the final day scenario so compelling is the potential for it all to come down to that last fixture, Hearts at Celtic Park. If both teams are still in contention, it is the biggest game in the Scottish Premiership in years. A full house, title on the line, and only a handful of away supporters in the ground. The drama simply cannot be scripted. For Celtic, the path is clear even if it is narrow. Win the games in front of them, put pressure on Hearts, and keep believing until the mathematics say otherwise. That's all the latest Celtic news for today. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Hail, hail.